Hey, welcome back to another session of a Stronger Futures Project. And what this program is about, what this session is about creating a stronger future for you, for your life, for those that you love, and also the outcome of life that you want to experience. And so we're learning the things that we don't know, and how we can implement them. Look for the warning signs, look for the prediction signs, and look for the opportunities to make a difference and bridge that link between the gap of where we are to where we want to go. And I am honored to have my co-host, Tammy Cho, who is an amazing rock star. And I could probably go on until the next hour talking about her accolades and my interaction with her, but I'm going to let her introduce herself because she's, like I said, she's a rock star. So I know that you want to stay tuned for what we're about to delve into. Tammy.
Thank you, Stanley, for having me here, first of all. And I love that introduction, what you're doing with this project, yeah, just a little bit about myself. I'm a former registered nurse patient care leader turned international bestselling author. I've stepped into calling myself a chief energy officer, as well as a face and body analysis expert. And what I do is essentially help former corporate leaders, people who've worked in the corporate-based environment, and they've chose a different life and became entrepreneurs. And I help them to remove hidden blocks, like connect to their body so they could remove hidden blocks and to step into their energetic leadership. So they can live life moving from the hustle culture to one of more flow without sacrificing their results, but also their authentic self. And this is what I'm most passionate about, is to be able to really have the permission to really be while creating that flow we want in our business and our life and our relationships and our connections in our daily lives. And so I think our connection, Stanley, with the whole body alignment and supporting people on this path, it's really beautiful how we've come together and now doing these lives together. So it's just really cool.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. It was definitely a divine collision of this energy that has been just from the first time that I met you and just saw you on another podcast or another group that we were both involved with. I'm like, there's an energy about this gal that I want to tap into. And then just the coordination of us coming together, I think it's beautiful. And I love the way that what you have found to be your passion in life. Can you just share a little bit about why you pursued that?
Yeah, for sure. Essentially, like having been a registered nurse in the previous life for 20 years, I came across my journey of burning out. I mean, often why we do what we do has lots to do with where we come from.
Mm-hmm.
And, I essentially went to work one day and I started having chest pain radiating up my jaw, down my arm. My heart felt it was jumping out of my chest. I struggled to breathe. And I remember feeling this metallic fear in my mouth. Yeah, it was like this pending death kind of feel. And anyways, I got wheeled off to emergency in front of everyone at work at that time. And honestly, leading up to that event, I knew I wasn't doing well. I was losing my ability to focus, but I was, so committed to keeping my mask on, and to, keep on achieving and pleasing people around me.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't let go, and that event obviously slowed me down. However, it didn't actually, my actual awakening was when my daughter was 6 months old and she was lying there on one of those baby Einstein mats. And for the first time, she intentionally hit one of those hanging toy structures, right? And if it wasn't for this community nurse that was sitting right next to me, Stanley, in my living room couch, pointing out that I wasn't really connecting. I wasn't bonding with my daughter as other moms would. Like I didn't feel anything. I literally saw it and I said, kids do that. And so, it was a big awakening for me because it made me realize that there's a place here that I was actually turning into my mom who physically abandoned me at 20 days old. but I was not obviously physically abandoning my daughter, but I was emotionally abandoning her. And so this put me on my journey of really, I'm not going to turn out like my mom. We often have that, pain that propels us forward. And so that really started me on my journey of really searching for this truth, so to speak, how to heal and fix myself at that time. And I really went to doing personal development courses, like almost like every month, became this mindset junkie, became an NLP practitioner, trying to figure out things logically.
Right.
And obviously the answer wasn't there, Stanley, right? So I kept on going, and I noticed that when I did energy work and experienced energy work, and I saw a huge benefit, and I actually became a Reiki master, became a shaman and Tibetan master, like all these different like healing modalities at that time. And what I noticed is that when I stopped exchanging those healings 2 to 3 times, a week, literally, I felt that I was still experiencing anxiety. I still had the feelings, and I still was playing patterns of burning out. And so I just kept on looking. I kept on digging for a truth. I wanted freedom. And I ventured into 4 years. I pulled into my life 4 years of emotional and spiritual healing. And it's interesting that as we're on our journey, we are, you know, looking for that healing, but also I realized that I had many gifts along this way of
Mhm.
being able to really be in tune with other people's emotions. And all the puzzle pieces didn't come together, Stanley, until I came across something called psychosomatic therapy, which is the study of the body, mind, heart, soul connection together as it's expressed through our physical body, our physical expressions, the lines on our face, our facial features, how we walk and breathe. And it brought me face to face with myself, like literally, because I saw how I was out there yearning for this love and attention, but a part of my body was pushing it away.
Right.
And it made me realize that I couldn't address everything separately. I had to bring it all together. But it brought me face to face with I wasn't, actually letting the healing what I wanted in. And even when I was, in my 30s and became a millionaire, and I was, I had a like white picket fence and with my husband and a loving man and everything, right? I had it, all, so to speak. I still felt unfulfilled and unhappy inside. And it was because I wasn't actually allowing things to come in and to actually let it in. I was actually blocking out all these things. And so I realized, as I ventured into my purpose of doing this work with people, I'm seeing this pattern again and again that we're out there really trying to I don't know, like live out our mission or like to make a difference and make an impact out there. Yet energetically, there's a part of themselves that's pushing it away.
Uh-huh.
And it's so sneaky, Stanley,
Yes.
because it's hidden under all these things that our mind will make up is I'm fine, I'm doing this, I'm getting this, but at some level we hit a block.
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been dialoguing a while here, but this is essentially what's been, really driving me from really supporting people to move from this surviving energy to this thriving energy, to from hustle to flow, without sacrificing themselves. Because at the end of the day, it's so important to actually be taking care of our bodies, our self, because we can only give as much as we have the energy for. We can make that difference as much as that we have that vibration for. Um, so I said a lot there, Stanley. So
Yeah.
what's coming up for you?
Well, my gosh, there's a lot coming up. So, when you talk about you getting wheeled into the emergency room of a facility that you're the caregiver, and now you're getting the care given to you and not by your choice. This is something that life said, hey, Tammy, boom, you're going to stop. And if you don't stop, we're going to stop you. And that's what happened. And then, the whole makeup. I mean, we could talk the entire session about that. And what I'd like to also do is that transformation that took place in your own mindset as you were giving the oxygen to other people, and yet you were depriving yourself of that oxygen and being healthy. And then you saw it with your relationship with this child that is now looking to you for nurturing, and you're depleted.
Yeah, I honestly was depleted. I just couldn't, even though, our children, are so innocent, right? Like oftentimes we, we're with maybe a colleague or a friend or another family member that we're like, we don't really want to be vulnerable and love them outwardly sometimes because we feel like somehow we're going to be judged and rejected or whatever. But this
Right.
was my daughter who was like innocent little 6-month-old baby, and I couldn't let that in, and so that really spoke a lot, to me. And I really, sometimes we really need that awakening within ourselves to know something is really off, right?
Yeah, and the thing that thankfully you answered that call. I've heard so much in the fields that I've worked in. I've worked in construction and I've worked in aircraft, and a lot of people in those fields, they are in their job for long periods of time. And the thing that I would hear over and over and over was, I'm going to make time up. When the kids get older, I'm going to make time then. Right now, I'm doing the providing, and I'm going to make time then. And I understand this idea that you can't be in the carriage and running the horses all at the same time. And what I mean by that is that you have to create the balance, and it's not taught. It's not promoted. And working endlessly becomes a badge of honor, but what it's doing is it's doing the very thing that we don't want. And like you said, you didn't want to be like your mom, and you found yourself inadvertently being like your mom in a different way. And you know when I had kids, I met my dad when I was 18 years old. And and as you expressed through my work with you here recently about the nurturing factor and the things that I didn't take that show up in my face, which I thought was amazing. So I'm just going to put a little plug in here. If you want to know a little bit more about who you are, set up a time to get with Tammy. I'm just saying that right now. It was amazing because we don't know what we don't know, and how can we have a stronger future if we don't take at least a little bit of interjection on our part and become that self-improved, that self-disciplined, um, personal development junkie once in a while. Okay. And, it is. The thing of it is, when you know yourself, now you start to see these signs. So, what I wanted to be before I had children was, I wanted to be the dad that I never had.
Mm.
And that's what I did. And I had people that would want more of my time. And I said, listen, I can make money all day long. I can never make time. There's 24 hours in the day. And the things that are most important to me are not cash. The things that are most important to me is the way that I can influence, because I only have a short period of time to influence. So, you know,
Mm.
the wake up calls that we get, and even especially when we have a heart to serve others, and you're you're the CEO of the path to the heart. What greater call can you have, getting in tune with our heart? And I'm 100% with you on you can't separate the mind, the body, the spirit, the energy, the health of our gut, the health of our brain. You cannot separate it. It's one being.
Yeah, it's entirely true. It's and unfortunately, we live in a society that, yeah, really gives those badges of honor for pushing through and doing more, and and even doing more for other people in a way that it makes us feel good on the inside, so it could really keep us in this loop. And what I realized on my journey, and I'm on the same page as you, is that, like, because like I had a lot of money at one point, and I still wasn't happy. And so we really got to define success for ourselves. And so I think there's a lot of people out there, and yes, we do need to make a living. And there's a place that I realized that when I allowed myself to just be myself and stand for my own truth again and again,
Right.
even if other people around me didn't maybe agree or didn't understand, or I wasn't received, that was a big one for me, is that when I did that again and again, that's when flow happens in my business. That's when, the clients come in, the line clients. When I'm aligned in myself, I am attracting those line clients. When I
Mhm.
feel abundant in myself, I am receiving abundance of business opportunities, visibility opportunities, whatever that is.
Right.
And so, and that's like what I see again and again, is that, yeah, we make up in our head that there's things we got to do more of. It's because I got to create a nicer funnel, and I got to, like, increase my better my marketing copy. And you could have all of that and still have things not work. And
Right.
that's when it's an energetic thing. And it's really beautiful in many ways, because when we are on the business journey of life, but specifically when you're learning, seeking more abundance in whatever shape or form, success in life, often you're being called deeper to more of yourself. And
Right.
yet people are not turning in. Naturally we kind of turn out and to see who can help us fix ourselves. Or are we like, oh, I better like keep on doing more of what I'm doing already.
Right.
Or like, what I mean? Like, that's worked in the past. Like, I just need to do more of that. I got to be more productive. I got to be more efficient. Self-judgment comes in, perfectionism, all these
Right.
things that keep us farther away from our truth, ourselves, what is actually, working in a way, what can work in a way. And that's what I want to really stand for and put out there. And I even ran away from this for a while because it was scary, to speak for of something, because like, how can you make more money if you don't do this? Like, why, if you don't do that, what, and I understand everyone has our own values. And at the same time, it's like, at the expense of what?
Right.
Yeah, and so this is really a big piece that I think a lot of patterning I see in my own clients is that, um, someone who's often moved from corporate into entrepreneurship, before in corporate, you're told, what are the goals to reach, what are the parameters, what are your measurements of success, and you just go and do it, right? And there's a point that you're in there and you feel like, you don't feel that alignment with the values of that organization anymore. You feel like you're not able to really be yourself and really speak up for what you really think, and you start to feel unfulfilled, right? And like you feel like unfulfilled and
Yeah.
exhausted, burning out, because you're not letting yourself be yourself. And if there's anything I learned from my burnout journey, I feel like it's a burnout evolution, because the healing of our burnout is actually coming back to ourselves and learning to give ourselves what we need. And this is it, right? And so when we are in a space where a rigid environment, organization, that we're told what to do, and we're wanting to birth and do something different, which is very scary. And a lot of my clients have been in entrepreneurship, earning six, even sometimes seven-figure income, and they hit a block within themselves where they've used the skills of being in corporate to push, do, be more efficient, all those kind of things. However, there's a place within them that they don't know how to receive.
Right.
They hit a block where that's the block within themselves, a deeper energy block, that it's like, it doesn't seem like everything I do, I move two steps forward, four steps back. Or they create this business and they turn around and they hate it because they just want to burn it down, because they didn't actually create it connected to ourselves. They listened to the steps of what they needed to do to build a successful business. But on the inside, it's like, wow, this is not the life I actually wanted. And
Right.
Spent all these years creating it. And then there's this tug of war, right? Literally, this tug of war
Yeah.
between who I was and who I want to be. And so, yeah, these are the pieces that, I know it's hard when we're in it and we're in that box of trying to do things, but we really, being a CEO of our business, we got to actually step back, see the bigger picture. Like, what is it that I really want? What is it that I want to create?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea that you mentioned there, success without fulfillment. They're very successful, and this is to the peril of their life. And we all have this one time right now with the present, with the people that we're with the experiences that we encounter, and success at what level, success at what degree without being fulfilled. And I say that success without fulfillment is probably the greatest failure that a person can experience, because I've
Mm.
talked to people that have retired, and as I work with clients, and it is a constant and a common thread that is perpetuated between all of these clients, is that I didn't try them. I didn't try the things that I wanted to. And now I'm in my supposed to be golden years. And now I've got all these illnesses that are stress related, of all the stress that I put my body through. And I was talking to a gentleman just Monday, and we had a call, and within 10 minutes, he almost had tears in his eyes explaining to me, and I never met him, tears in his eyes within 10 minutes about the things, of all the accomplishments that he did. And now he just retired, and now he's been given a diagnosis.
Mm.
And now he's looking back and wishing for something different before. And what I want to encourage people that are listening and that are going through that, it's not too late. You do have the opportunity, and by making different decisions and making alternate decisions, this is where I say challenge the narrative, because I've had many people in the physical part of it tell me that they were imminently a client for or a candidate for surgery. And I'm like, okay, if you're willing to challenge the narrative, how about we give this a check? And after working with me, they go back and they get hey, you're not a candidate for surgery. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And this is what I'm hearing with you. It's becoming aware of what you're not aware of. There's so many people that are not aware, that because they're not aware. And when you're talking about the energy of being in that hospital hallway, being wheeled to your own emergency, you weren't aware that you weren't aware of the things that was going on until you got this major wake-up call. And the beauty of the work that I see that you do, and here again, I'm just going to put a little plug in, but the beauty that I see the work that you do is you make people aware of the possibilities. And what if you did something different? What if you took note to this and implemented this? And how could that change this energy that's being expressed? So,
Yeah.
so when you're talking to these corporate leaders that go into an entrepreneurial, and they're used to being on that treadmill, they're used to hammering through, punching through, and no pain, no gain kind of mindset, which is about the dumbest statement that I know. I hear people say no pain, no gain. And I go, no, pain is the body's language. If you don't listen to it, it's going to wake you up.
Yeah.
And, in an unhappy way. So, don't push through it, process it, and experience it. And this is what I saw with you, and I was so appreciative of that opportunity
Mm.
to just look at things in a different angle.
Yeah, and it's really, our life changes when we see ourselves differently. And
Yeah.
I talked about how I was wearing that mask, and actually leading into the burnout, I kind of knew what was happening, but I was like learning how to suppress.
Mhm.
It's like a pattern to numb already, and I think there's a lot of people out there, we numb through, drugs, alcohol, overwatching Netflix, sex, pornography, it could show up all these different ways. It's a way we numb ourselves from when we're actually not happy. And for myself, taking like psychosomatic therapy, I was talking about really showing someone who they are through their face. It's literally just to like highlight that the left side of our face is the private world, what we want to keep within ourselves. And then the right side is the public face and what we show to the world. And so, what I guide people through is obviously what the features mean and things like this. But most importantly, how they are actually relating to their inner world and outer world. Because a lot of times we actually have learned to not even connect to ourselves, and we'll look really bright on the outside and often not as bright on the inside. And when help people connect to themselves, they realize sometimes they don't even recognize who that is. And sometimes it's looking at certain features. There's a huge difference between one side or the other side. I mean, obviously, when we look in the mirror, we don't always notice this, but if you do notice it, that is a piece of you speaking to you. It's not pain per se, but it's actually your suppression or not aware non-awareness of self is showing up in your body, telling you like, look at me. This
Mhm.
is where I'm maybe struggling with. This is where I need some attention, where I need some inner support and love and, compassion. And so, yeah, I mean, I just feel I'm so grateful for what I do because I get to help someone learn to see and love themselves in a different way. And when we shift this internal relationship with ourselves, it affects our entire energy vibration to create what is it that our heart actually wants anyway, right? And so it's you get to create it by learning how to love yourself deeper. Like
Right.
how cool is that?
Yeah,
And
very
so,
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
One of the things that I wrote down, and I actually wrote down two things, and individual authenticity and also talking about the mask. So in your work, giving people permission to have this sacred relationship and being authentic and not having a mask when they meet with you. This is what I found in the work that I do, is that sometimes they have the people, the clients that I have, they have learned to suppress and put a mask on and not share their emotions. And when I'm having a client session, and this is why I really love doing one-on-ones, and I do in groups, I can do this if they give me permission, but it's very intimate, and I got to make sure that the group is an intimate group.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
generally, the one-on-one really allows people to just really give themselves permission to take off that mask and come clean, and you can watch the weight fall off their shoulders. And I'm a body language watcher, right? And so I'm watching, and I'm saying, did you feel the weight just lift off your shoulders? And they're going like, yes, I felt that.
Mhm.
And it's that sacred relationship, because who we are within the confines of our own small, can be very narrow proximity. And then when we go out into the world, we're taught that pick up your bootstraps, lace yourself up, get, just push through it, and go out there and perform and get on this treadmill, this perpetual treadmill that you're constantly moving but never gaining ground. And a treadmill has its purpose, but not for your life.
Yeah, and that's like, all those patterns of doing more or pushing harder, that it's protecting ourselves from really, allowing ourselves to really be with ourselves because we could then accomplish more, so it becomes this like conflict within ourselves to um live this protection that we don't even know is protection because
Right.
it feels like it's a part of us, it's who I am.
Right.
Yet there's a fine tuning around um doing action, taking aligned action, aligned to your intuition in your heart, and being connected to your body in a way that you know when it's not right or too much, versus just doing. There's a very different energy behind it. And
Mhm.
this is why I love speaking about this authentic energetic leadership, because when we look at the energy underneath that, that's
Mhm.
most authentic.
Right.
And the pathway there is often feeling connected to our emotions and our body, um, not necessarily just our feelings, because our feelings is a combination of it's translated through the mind already about what that
Right.
feeling is, right? I'm talking about the raw emotion or body sensation that you just know, it's that deep intuitive part of ourselves that all of us have. It's just a matter of practice of connecting to it, right?
Yeah. And you bring up the mind, the programming that we've gained. You know, how many entrepreneurs do you know that they pursued a profession that they really never liked? And it's because they were programmed. Either, they came from a family of doctors, they came from a family of lawyers, they came from a family of accountants, of nurses, and they hated that.
Mm.
And or someone lied to them when they were taking the ambidextrous test in the seventh grade and said, you're going to be a factory worker. And they programmed in their mind that they were going to be a factory worker.
Mm.
And they went and be a factory worker, and they're like, I hate this job. And they hate the job every day. And I've talked to CEOs, I've talked to presidents of companies that in our sacred time together as a coach and a coachee, they're just sharing how much they just hate what they do. And I'm like, well, why do you continue doing it?
Mhm, mhm.
Because this is what I know. But I said, if you hate it, then there's a disconnect, and it's a indicator saying you were meant for something more. And when
Yes.
they give themselves the permission to just download that and go, well, what else am I meant for? Well, when you do the self work and the exploring, that's when that mask comes off. And I say, if you could do it on your own, you'd have already done it. This is where having help from somebody that's professionally, trained and commits their values, commits their purpose to bringing this forward. And the thing of it is that this is not taught. What you do is not taught to everyone. You have this opportunity right now as you're watching this Stronger Futures Project podcast to see that, hey, I'm not broken. I just need to be redirected into the channel that I love already. And why not pursue what I love and learn how I love it and how to channel that in such a way that now I'm authentic with myself, and I'm not trying to make up a past history. I can create a future.
Yeah, that's it's truly beautiful, because like when we're sitting across the room with someone who's unhappy with their life, and with the work we do often,
Mhm.
we're working with the body, and it's like often the thing that's happening in your body is happening because you're not listening to yourself, right? So it's
Yep.
all connected once again, and it's so true, is that for myself, even there, I wouldn't be able to have done this by myself. I needed someone to hold space, that had it. It wasn't even the person and what they're doing. It was their energy is what I've reflected on and realized, because there's a place that we need to feel safe. And we don't necessarily maybe say this out loud. Like we want to belong, we want to feel safe, we want to feel supported by someone when we know that actually cares,
Right.
not just from this doing energy, this logical energy. It's like we're actually innately always looking for that, but it's time to like bring that out in the forefront and speak about it. And it's like, if that person that supported me didn't hold so much love in her,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be able to like open up and let go. And this is the self-love that it takes a leadership of ourself to learn how to create safety within our own bodies, to hold our emotional space. So it's I feel like it's the next evolution of leadership that is super necessary, because
It
I
is.
think a lot of the pain in the world would go down if people like stood into a new leadership based on love, but also action, right?
Yeah, the self-leadership, that is key. That's a key point, and I'm glad you said it that way, because we can lead companies and you can lead organizations, but ultimately the first line of defense is leading ourselves.
Hmm.
And we're not trained that way. We're trained to watch over, or we're trained to be the overseer of a group of people that are working under us. And the you mentioned earlier, and I mean, there's so many things that you mentioned. I'm going to go back and watch this myself. Is that we are stuck on this perpetual cycle of do, 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 do. And if we just keep doing, we get do all over us, and we never become the person that we were really created to be. And this is where we get that mix kind of backwards, is that if we do enough, then we'll have enough, then we'll finally be enough. And that's the wrong order. It's
Yeah.
be the person that you are. Have that identity of what that person does to be that way. But be the person, and then you can do the things, and then you can have whatever comes with the being first. But when the being is put last, that's when the order just gets, and this is where you find yourself being wheeled down the hallway. You find yourself in the back of an ambulance. You find yourself with these stress pains and can't sleep and heart palpitations and body pains. And I deal a lot in the postural, how the emotional now seats in the middle of the back, the lower back. And when that stress level rises up, they think it's just they pulled their back, they did something twisted wrong.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it's the emotional side. So even in my postural therapy, it's not just a matter of focusing on what their body is saying, it's what they're telling their brain, that's telling their body. And when they're high stressed, now you got that knot in the back of your shoulders. Now you got that knot up at your neck. Now you can't turn your head. And, it gets tight. And the more you push through it, you're avoiding the warning signs.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. It's so important to listen to our body. And, some people are, in this journey where they're taking care of their body, they don't even have any big, issues per se. It's very much like they've been, maybe in entrepreneurship, and they've been on their journey and everything's working fine and dandy. And we hit these edges within ourselves too, right? Where like, oh, interesting how this is suddenly happening to my body now that I've been told I have high blood pressures, things that we can't even see per se. I mean, we may be able to see it in the this region here, with the work that we do, but most people are not connecting to that. And I think that there's a deeper place within ourselves. That's why the energy piece is so important, to learn how to actually tune in to the body
Mhm.
and to connect to places that show up that, maybe we can't even see at a physical level, to really develop the deeper leadership in this way. Because we all learned, Stanley, that, over 95% of what we choose to do is attributed to the subconscious, and we may not even be conscious of why
Right.
we're doing what we're doing. We're going through patterns.
Right.
And so this is why I feel like, the evolution of leadership is learning to even tune into our body for places we can't see. And I've seen time and time again, Stanley, that when I open up, my shoulders, which is something that has been a journey for me, is that when I try to tune in or go in deeper, and my posture is held a certain way, it's almost like two parts of it's like the body and then the mind and the emotions fighting against each other. So
Yes.
that's why it's so important to bring alignment to the body, mind, heart, soul together. And I feel someone who's out there wanting to make a bigger difference, make that bigger impact. It's like make that impact here first. Like you got to lead yourself, and before you can lead other people to that next level in your external world, it's a direct reflection. And so, yeah, I just really want to speak that, because sometimes it's like, especially some of my younger clients, they don't feel like there's anything, nothing's happening with their body per se.
Right.
And so, yeah, so just wanted to put that bug out there in people's ear.
Yeah, definitely. That is, there are so many topics that we could really dive into. We could probably spend the entire afternoon.
Very
Um,
true.
and I just think this is where that divine collision has come together, and the synchronicity of what it is that both you and I do. This is why I love the work that you do, and the opportunity that I had to experience it myself. It is learning to discover what you don't know that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the micro changes that can take place. And like you said, we have two sides. There's a side that's inside of us, and then there's the side that we show other people. And we don't even realize that it's visible. For somebody like you, I can only imagine, if I were you, I'm just speaking out loud here, I would be looking at everybody in the grocery store and I'm going, oh my gosh, they're unhappy. They're more unhappier than I thought. And they look successful.
Mm-hmm.
They've got something going on, and it would be difficult for me because I people watch. And I'm going, man, I could really help. I'm wondering why that person has such a frown on their face, or why are their shoulders rounded? What is the energy that is causing them to have rounded shoulders? Why is their pelvic tilted and they don't stand up in a manner where they're hiding themselves? And that's the way that I see them posturally. And with your energy, I I don't know. Am I speaking out of context? But do you see that?
Yeah, obviously, I know everyone has their story. I mean, I've come to a place where everyone has their story.
Right.
For me, when I see that now, I drop into a place of compassion
Yeah.
versus like, oh, I wonder what happened to them, because I already know. Because like
Right.
everything that happens where we're out of alignment in our body is because there's a place that we are hurting and we don't know how to like care for ourselves.
Right.
There's a place that, it's really scary to be vulnerable, even with ourselves.
Yeah.
And even in the face analysis, when I walk someone through it, they're like, I tell them something like about maybe like the amount of, perfectionism or self-criticalness that's showing up in their face. They're like, oh yeah, I know that already. And it's so important to actually hold space for someone to just drop in, because, life is meant to be felt. And when you understand something without feeling it,
Right.
it's really easy to brush it off and not actually remember life, and
Hmm.
not to remember like who you're being in every instant. And so it's so important to, yeah, come back to the heart again and again, versus understanding things. And so that's how I've learned to navigate this and deepen my love for humanity. And know that I'm not there to fix everyone. It's not about overgiving. It's
Right.
about like deepening my love, expanding my energy and consciousness and vibration, so I can help the people that are ready to be helped.
Right.
You know? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I've navigated it, Stanley.
I love that. I do. I love it. And then there's no judgment in it. This is what the beauty part is, that there's no judgment in, as I'm looking at people and I see their disposition, their physical disposition, there's no judgment. It's, and I know that there is another way, and you're not stuck with the brain that you have, you're not stuck with the body that you have, you're not stuck on genetics, you're not locked into the past. You don't have to be. And it's in this work that we have both been exposed to, and that journey of going, when I was a little kid, and I'm going to close with this, but when I was a little kid and I saw all the pain that was around me, I remember vividly, like it was yesterday. I can see the lawn that I was standing on and saying, there has to be a better way.
Hmm.
And as a child, I was intuitive already to there was a better outcome. And we were dirt poor. Like I tell people, we were so poor that the termites had to hold hands so that the walls didn't fall over in the apartment that we were living in. And I mean, we were just dirt poor. And I said, there has to be a better way. And so what is it that, what is it that you and I do that really makes the difference for people comes down to that vulnerability, the authenticity, and having a love as a leadership for ourselves. That's my takeaway. Is there anything that you'd like to share how people can get a hold of you? And also, I know we're going to do this again and again. So we've given you a lot here, but if there was something that you could encourage the listeners to absorb, what would that be?
For myself, it really becomes with this openness and willingness to be radically honest with yourself. Is that if it's stimulating emotion in you, and there's a charge within you, instead of maybe speaking about the other person, or what happened to you, it's like really take a breath and come back to self. And it's like, where is this happening within me? Really coming back to ourselves to um, learn to be start from this place. Because what I'll say is just that this is the piece that keeps people stuck in again and again, is that when we're upset, something happens that doesn't go right, we tend to look outside, maybe blame, and it turns us into this victim energy, versus energy of empowerment. And that empowerment starts with coming back and choosing to look at ourselves. So I just wanted to speak to that. And to answer your question, Stanley, I love to give the audience. It's a 5-part video series that I've created. It's complimentary to the guests, and it's essentially how to uncover subconscious blocks within someone's leadership potential as it's shown through your own face. And so I love to give people this journey back into yourself to really start to begin to align these inner and outer energies to see how this shows up for you and what is blocking you from your fullest leadership potential. And so, so I'd love to hand that link over to you, and I'll go around and post it in the comments as well for everyone
Fantastic.
to enjoy. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and this is showing up all over in social media. So reach out to me, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on all those channels. Just direct message me. I'd be happy to connect and answer any questions that maybe have come up.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for that offer. And I hope that our listeners will take you up on that, because it is definitely well worth the investment of your time so that it can create a reward for your future. Undoubtedly.
Yes, thank you, Stanley. And I look forward to having more of these sessions
Yes.
together, because I can see so many different avenues we could
Oh
take
my
this.
gosh. Yes. 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 All right. Well, thank you very much, Tammy, for being here. Thank you for being here, joining us in. And we've got one person that was listening in and said, "Great podcast. Totally enjoyed it." Thank you, Carolyn. And I look forward to seeing you again as a regular guest. And in between, have an energetic day and love yourself.